on this episode of Ghost Hunters International.
Welcome, Port Arthur.
The team heads to Tasmania and a convict settlement notorious for death and mass murder.
Why don't you come out and talk to me?
Will Ashley encounter the vicious spirit of a rapist?
I felt like something poked my knee, and then I'm getting like hot flash.
A figure caught on camera
But that looks like somebody walking.
disappears without a trace.
I think it could be something paranormal.
Can GHI capture the criminal spirits of the Port Arthur Penitentiary? Or will the convicts get their payback?
What the hell is that?
All right, everyone, we made it to Tasmania. Brandy's gonna give us details on the case.
Hey, we are headed to Port Arthur Prison, and this place was built in the early 1800s and was originally used for a timber station in the 1830s. Now, between 1833 and the 1850s, it was converted to a prison for the worst British and Irish convicted criminals. And in 1853, a separate prison was built on the grounds, which was where they sent the most terrible and unruly of the prisoners. Some of the inmates included murderers and child rapists, so, you know, we're talking really, really bad people. Throughout the city, there are reports of full-bodied apparitions, moving objects, disembodied voices, footsteps, knocking. Some people have claimed to have been strangled and scratched by unseen forces. There are strange lights. Pretty much every type of paranormal activity has been claimed all throughout Port Arthur. There isn't just one specific building. We're talking about over 130-some years of people claiming to have seen ghosts and spirits at this place.
This place, from what Brandy's describing, is huge. 100+ years of paranormal activity. I want to get in there and tear it up. So this whole thing.
Wow, it certainly is spread out.
Wow. It is.
How are you going?
Good, Rob.
Caitlin.
How are you?
Justin. Nice to meet you.
Hi, bye.
Nice to meet you. Welcome, Port Arthur.
Thank you very much. It's beautiful.
The place opened in 1830 as a timber station, but then they had so many convicts here cutting the trees down, they officially made it a prison in 1833. At its peak, there were probably more than 2,000 people living on the settlement, and then ended up closing down in 1877.
Okay. And now, over time, the stories of the paranormal activity have come through?
Absolutely. The first recorded hauntings start here in 1870.
All right. Well, could you take us around, show us exactly where the big reports of the activity so we can follow up on it?
Absolutely. Let's
All right.
go. So this building is the Penitentiary, one of the more iconic buildings on site. And this building's significant really because it's one of the first times that we really see this idea of maximum and minimum security. We had the bottom 2 stories were maximum security, upper story was minimum security. One of my favourite stories was of a tourist who was in here. He said that there was a man standing in this doorway over here, a man dressed in, you know, perfect, impeccable soldier's uniform. And he said the soldier sort of just leaned in and said, "What are you doing here?" At which point he expressed he was on a tour. And they went and had a conversation with each other for about 2 minutes. And then he goes outside and tells the guide, who says, "There's never been any actors here." And I mean, the man actually didn't believe her because it was just that three-dimensional, that real. So the house we're approaching now belonged to the senior surgeon. There's a room underneath it. For a very long time, people have believed that it was used as a dissecting room. There are many, many documented cases down here of some quite peculiar happenings. There's been an apparition seen standing in this corner here, tall man in a long black coat with a bald head. People are terrified. When they see this apparition, there's always a sense of menace.
Oh, down there in the dissection room, I just sort of glanced up in the doorway and I could have sworn I saw the light reflecting off a person. I'd say it was a man's face out there in the corridor. I went and had a bit of a look just to make sure that there was no one hiding out there. I couldn't find anyone. And it was quite a terrifying experience as well. It makes your blood just run cold for a moment or two.
So this building, we tend to refer to it as a separate prison, but it's also known as the separate treatment quarters. And this really represented a huge shift in the sort of punishments that were given to prisoners at Port Arthur. Up until 1849, all of the punishments here were physical, so it was either leg irons or the cat of nine tails. After 1849, it shifts to the psychological punishment that was undertaken here, which was separate treatment. And it was based on this Quaker idea that believed a man with no distractions would become closer to God. So total silence, you were housed in your cell for 23 hours a day and only allowed out for 1 hour of exercise. Anytime you left your cell, you were made to wear a mask. The guards tended to communicate only using sign language, so the prisoners never heard the sound of another human voice. C-wing, they held the violent, criminally insane. We've sort of stopped here because this is approximately the area where a guide who was in here with the tour group had a fairly odd experience. She was standing basically where I would be. Her group was standing here and they kept laughing at her. Finally asked the group what was going on and they said there was a man in convict uniform who kept peering around the side of the cell and making faces at the group. Again, same as we've heard heaps of times before, they thought it was an actor. And then, you know, the guide looked in the cell, couldn't find anything. And then later on, two elderly ladies came running up to that guide and said that they'd actually identified the man as a man called John Gould, and they identified him from a photograph that they later saw in the museum.
Is there anything specific that we know about John Gould?
He was in here for attempted rape of a child under 10. So I've got a pretty interesting story for you here. This is one of the few cases we have of somebody actually being physically harmed. What had happened this particular night is I was standing pretty much where we are and I was talking away and there was a man who was standing directly in front of me and he just all of a sudden just reached up and just clutched at his throat. And when he pulled his hand away, he had 4 parallel scratches that ran from under his ear down across the front of his throat and finished up about 3 inches under his collarbone. When he first pulled his hand away, they were just faint red lines, and as I had the torch on them, they were actually welting in front of my eyes. They were that fresh. I mean, you say it and it sounds ludicrous, but I believed him because he was standing in front of me the entire time. I would have seen him if he had have done it to himself.
So that's the only report of physical activity here?
That's probably the most serious one. We do get people just being poked and prodded. Yeah. So this building that we're approaching now is Port Arthur's Church, built between 1835 and 1837. In 1835, quite a vicious murder occurred when they were digging the foundation trenches for the walls. And there was a convict called Shuttleworth who was actually working in one of the trenches. Another man called Riley walked up to the edge of the trench, just put a pickaxe straight into Shuttleworth's head. Actually hit him 3 times with it. But it took poor Shuttleworth another hour to die.
Oh. Wow. And as far as reports of paranormal activity?
Most of the reports are of lights, bright flashes of light, sometimes it's balls of light, also an apparition seen in the top tower.
And do they have a description of the apparition?
Yeah, it's a man. People say he has red hair. They're often quite surprised at how much detail they can make out in the face, considering that it's usually dark when they see it and from a fair distance away. So this house is the parsonage. There's a man named Reverend Eastman. He died in the upstairs bedroom of this house in 1870, and then the first recorded hauntings start later that same year. People have certainly seen him inside this house.
I was in the parsonage and I just felt something watching me. And I didn't think about it, I just turned around and standing in the entrance stood a very tall man with a beard and a brown suit. He just stood there looking at me, ghost-like, see-through. I could see straight through him, my heart jumped into my throat. And he just frowned and started to walk towards me, took 2 or 3 steps and vanished into thin air and was gone.
So this is the Commandant's house. This is where the boss of the entire site lived. This would have been used as Commandant Booth's bedroom. And this is where people have reportedly actually witnessed an apparition of Commandant Booth. Oftentimes, children will wander off when they're in the house. One mother actually walked in and found her little girl sitting on the edge of the bed and asked her what she was doing there, and the little girl said, "I'm talking to the nice man who lives here, Mummy, but he's very, very sick." And as it turned out, Commandant Booth had gotten lost in the bush for quite some time and went into renal failure and was hypothermic and dehydrated and spent a lot of time recuperating and would have been in this bedroom.
When GHI came to Tasmania,
we had to come to Port Arthur. This place is world famous, renowned as an incredibly haunted location. Great job getting all this set up. Problem is, we got building after building in this place, so I need everyone to kind of be working double duty. And the problem is, almost every building here, it's visual, it's sound, so you gotta be ready for everything. You guys know what to do, you know what equipment to take. Given the size of this location, we have to make sure that we can be in those spots and make sure we have full coverage. I think it's a challenge that definitely the entire team welcomes. Let's get the lights out and have a good night. So this is the parsonage. This is where it all started, 1870s. Reverend George passes away upstairs, and he's been seen since. First full bite apparition.
I got my new recorder. Any ideas where you would like this?
Put that on the stairs. One of the new pieces of equipment that we used was Brandy's new recorder. It's highly valuable in that it picks up a greater range of the low-range frequencies, and that's commonplace that we've been finding EVPs. This is an EVP session with Brandy, Rob, and Ashley in the parsonage. Reverend George, are you here with us this evening? Could you please come forward and let us know that we're welcome here? Did you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Where'd that come from?
Sounded like a knock from either towards the back or maybe upstairs in the back.
I was thinking towards the back. Nobody out there. Whoever is here with us, we'd like you to come forward and speak to us, communicate with us.
Okay, I heard that.
Yeah. Reverend George, are you here with us this evening? Who's walking around upstairs? Brandy, Ashley, and I were investigating the parsonage when we heard footsteps upstairs. This wasn't knocks, this wasn't house settling, this was someone walking around. All right, nobody up here.
I swear I heard footsteps up
That
here.
was footsteps.
Yeah, clearly.
We jammed upstairs, we looked around the whole area. The place is empty, no animals, no people, no one. You know, for all the million times we talk about hearing footsteps, that was probably the best example
That was the best footsteps I've ever heard.
Well,
No, I never heard any footsteps that loud and clear before, so it was a little startling.
to whoever's present in this home, if you have a problem with our presence in this home, could you speak to us, tell us that message, or make a sound for us to let us know that you do not want us here? All right, seems like our phantom pacer
seems really quiet now.
has taken a walk, as it were. There's the key to this investigation now, right there. We had Brandy's recorder on the stairs, so now we can go back and find out exactly what that was.
Hello.
Let's keep moving.
This is the Commandant's house. The Commandant himself, Commandant Booth, that's his room there. He's been seen in there by the bed. So see if we can talk to the old Commandant.
Okay. So the Commandant is actually seen in this room?
Yeah. I want a fancy bed like this.
Isn't it nice?
Yeah.
I know my wife wants one day.
You'll wake up and you feel like you're royalty or something.
Oh, man. Okay, so this is Paul and Dustin in the Commandant's bedroom. Is the Commandant here? Does he want to make himself known to us?
Commandant Booth, can you tell me what it is that keeps you here? Are there any other members of your family here, Commandant? Is it your love for your family that causes you to stay here? You remember having good times here with them?
What's that?
Let me check it out.
Wasn't the door. During our investigation in Commandant Booth's bedroom,
Nothing's in there.
Dustin and I both heard what sounded like maybe something being dropped or something being banged. It sounded like it had just come from outside the room. Commandant, if that was you, can you do it again? We respectfully ask that you actually come forward and show yourself to us. I did ask if that were the Commodore or anybody in here, could I do it again? It didn't happen again, so basically we hit it with the cameras. Hopefully, when it comes down to the analysis, we'll actually capture something that we actually missed during the investigation. This is the end of EVP session, Dustin and Paul. So I decided to do a solo investigation at the parsonage. I wanted to follow up on the earlier reports of footsteps heard by Rob and the girls. All right, so apparently there's the apparition of a man. One of the reports is actually seeing an apparition of a man, potentially Reverend George. So I wanted to take some still photos to see if the Reverend would show up. Reverend George, allow me to take your picture. Will you please come forward? The hell? I was hearing like a banging noise. Initially, I noticed the door was actually ajar. Anyone out here? So I actually shut the door and I locked it. Okay. Shut this door. Reverend George, are you in here? What the hell? I was hearing a banging noise. I noticed the door was actually ajar. So I locked it. What the hell? I just shut this door. And again, the same noise. The door had actually opened up even further. If there's somebody in here who's opening this door, can you do it again? Can I say that's paranormal? No. And it could well have been just a case of I didn't quite shut the door properly. Hopefully I've got some audio as well as maybe, hopefully, some sort of visual evidence as well. Is that an entrance?
Yeah, we can go up this side here.
Okay.
Paul and I decided to start an investigation in the old penitentiary area. The main stories that we have from this place are the apparitions of a soldier. He's been seen in full uniform. So this doorway over here to the right, that doorway is where he's been seen. I want to set thermal up. I'm going to train it on this doorway.
Okay.
Cool. We have a thermal camera with us, our handheld camcorder, as well as the 360 mic. We've been told the figure of a soldier has been seen here. Is that gentleman here with us this evening? Are you able to appear here in front of us? Are you able to show up right here in this doorway? Is there anything here that you can physically manipulate to let us know you're here with us?
I'm hearing music.
Yeah, I've got music too. I hear like a low bass frequency.
Yeah. I was listening live to the 360 and I was able to hear almost like there was a bass line being played. It's too far away to make out what the music was, but you got that.
There's definitely nothing around us here. We're kind of secluded, so I had to figure out where that was coming from. Are there any soldiers present here? Is there anyone still present here?
It happened again, but this time Dustin was actually up at the top of the stairs and was able to actually sort of hear it a lot clearer.
Hey, Paul, you know what I think that noise is, man?
Go on.
I think it's just the wind when it blows over the top. This music is actually just the wind blowing over some of the pipes and stuff. You know, if you're like blown over the top of a bottle or something.
Gotcha.
Yeah. That's definitely not a full-bodied apparition and speaking to it, so, you know?
yeah, nah, we can pretty much rule that out.
Yeah.
Just ending the EVP session in the penitentiary. We're going to move on. Got a lot to do.
All right, man. I'll head back down. Cool.
Now, the church itself said that there's meant to be lights appear and orbs and some figures as well. I think what I'd like to do, Joe, is just past this lamppost. Let's just get a few shots. Joe and I stopped off outside the church. Wanted to get some photographs of the grounds to see if anything would show up unusual. And I put it on a 30-second shutter, so that should give us a good view of the area. See what we've got. Hold on a second. See that, Joe?
What is that?
That looks like someone walking.
It does. Is somebody standing there?
That can't be right.
Barry and I were heading over towards the church, and he wanted to stop and take a full spectrum photo. And as he was taking a photo, something appeared.
That looks like someone walking.
It does. Is somebody standing there?
That can't be right. It looks like they're mid-stride along the front of the church, but
I can't see anything through my camera, but that looks like somebody walking.
There doesn't seem to be anybody up there.
I don't see anybody.
This is put in a 30-second shutter. I shouldn't, you know, there should be a trail following those people.
Oh, yeah, because the camera takes time for it to take the shot, so if somebody walks.
If someone was walking across there, I should have a trail, but I'm not seeing a trail in this shot. What I want you to do, Joe, is you're going to be walking across toward the left-hand corner of the church.
Okay.
Okay? We tried to duplicate that process by getting Joe to go up to the first tree line and follow the same path as what was indicated by whatever this was that was captured.
Okay, I'm in front of the tree.
Just normal pace. So whenever you're ready, 1, 2, go.
Okay, reach the peak.
Okay, Joe, it's as I thought. You're leaving a trail as you walk, and I can't understand that other image that we've seen.
What that image of that man in mid-stride is, I just don't know. I think it could be something paranormal.
All right. Got a lot of ground to cover in here, huh?
Yeah.
So what do we got? We've got John Gould.
John Gould, the child rapist.
Yeah, real nice history with him.
John Gould. We know you're here with us. Why don't you come out and talk to me?
John Gould, prisoner 12505. I want you to show yourself.
So this is supposedly where he's been seen.
Is this the one?
Yeah.
Yeah, making funny faces.
Yeah, sticking his head out and making faces.
It's crazy. It's creepy. Here we are.
You know, John, we all think you're pretty despicable for what you did. Personally, I don't think there's any forgiveness for the kind of deeds that you committed. And the fact that you're showing you're still a coward, still afraid to come out. I want to step out of your space. I want to leave Brandy and Ashley here. All three of us were in the cell where John Gould has been reported to have been seen. I decided to take myself out of the equation, thinking maybe this guy would be more apt to show himself with just the two ladies there.
John, do you like having two women in your cell?
So I hear you scratch people. Why can't you do that? Why haven't you done that to one of us yet?
Touch one of us, do something.
I'm wanting to see some kind of physical proof that you're here.
Well, when you guys step out and give it a shot with just one in there?
Actually, I want to leave this recorder with you.
Okay.
Okay.
John, I'm in here alone now. Is that what you want? Hey, can one of y'all come in here really quick?
What's wrong?
I was standing here, and I swear to God, I'm not kidding, I felt like something poked my knee, and then I have this weird feeling, like I'm getting like hot flash, and I just all of a sudden felt like I was about to pass out, and I had to lean against the wall. Just something like that happening to me. I think, honestly, it proved something to me, that there was someone else in there with me, or some other type of energy. It's just so weird. Like, honest to God, I've never had that happen before. Anything like that.
Right.
I'm like freaking out right now. Sorry. I'm still extremely shaken up. Like, if I had a choice, I wouldn't want to go back in there.
It's the basement underneath the surgeon's house, where they said that they'd done dissection of human remains. Yep. And there's the smell of formaldehyde and things in it. This is it, Joe. This is the room that they've done the dissection in.
Barry and I are investigating the surgeon's house cellar. It's a weird place in there. You get an odd feeling as soon as you walk in.
Now, Joe, over to your left, there's a guy said to appear over there in dark clothes with a bald head. I'm gonna go to live mode, Joe, with the 360.
Doctor, is it true, is there any truth to the stories that dissection, cutting up human remains, happened in this room? Is there any of the medical staff that practiced here still living in these walls?
What the hell was that?
Is there any of the medical staff that practiced here still living in these walls?
What the hell was that?
Once the investigation started, Joe and I had heard this huge bang. Is it this blowing in the wind? Yeah. We were able to find that it was actually the gate at the end of the corridor and was slamming in the wind. I'm going to sit on the table. I want you to wait outside. Just lock it behind you. I lay for a moment on the surgeon's table where it said that he dissected some of the bodies. You saying anything, Joe?
No.
I just heard a man's voice now.
Inside the room?
I think so. A whisper. I'm hearing something very unusual, Joe, on the microphone. There's a scratching going on. It seems to be coming from the left. The rear, toward my legs. During that particular session, I could hear scratching coming through the 360 mic as I was listening to it in real time. It suddenly got very cold here, Joe. The temperature seemed to drop as well. Have you still got a temperature probe, Joe?
Yes.
Take a temperature reading from outside there in the hallway.
It seems to be about 46.
Okay, Joe, come in and take a temperature reading now.
Now it's 31.
The atmosphere in the place turned as well. It turned aggressive, almost confrontational.
30.
Oh!
29. Oh, it jumped up to 54.
So I got a sharp pain on the chest there. Whatever the hell that was about. Oh. And it really did give you the impression that this, whatever it was, actually didn't want us to leave. I thought I heard someone just say, "You leaving?"
I didn't hear a thing. You all right?
Yeah. Why don't you come forward and try and stop us from leaving? You just touched me in the back?
No. Both my hands are occupied.
As we were leaving, it felt as if someone, I actually thought Joe had tapped me in the middle of the shoulder blades. Just as I turned, as I was turning to you, I felt as if you had touched me in the middle of the shoulders.
No. I'm like this. Staying still.
It's going to be a wonderful analysis for us, so I'm really looking forward to seeing the results.
All right, everyone, that's a night. Let's get back to Command Central and start getting packed up. At this point, Port Arthur lives up to its reputation. We have disembodied voices, we have footsteps, we have people thinking that they have possible apparitions, physical contact, the list goes on and on. This place, man, this was something.
From my own personal experiences, the way whatever was in that cell with me made me feel like an emotional breakdown, pretty much. I honestly believe that Port Arthur is haunted.
It has been a fantastic evening, a lot of personal experiences. We were covering it with a lot of equipment, and I'm really hoping for a lot in analysis. We're about to go into an evidence analysis now for Port Arthur down here in Tasmania, just off the coast of Australia. It has been a remarkable investigation for us. There was a lot of personal experiences had. Ashley had reported actually being touched. So we want to see if anything is going to reflect on that and maybe shed some light onto the hauntings that are said to happen here.
Hey, Ashley.
Yeah?
Okay, so I'm sure you remember these separate treatment quarters. Quite
yeah.
well. And you were asking John Gould to come into the cell with you?
Yeah.
I think he took you up on that offer.
Okay. Why don't you come out and talk to me? Are you serious?
How does that make you feel, like, hearing that?
I don't even know what to say. That's, like, I'm speechless right now.
Hey,
guys. Welcome back to Port Arthur.
Oh, thank you very much. We're actually very happy to be back. Quite a bit to talk to you about today.
Fantastic.
All right, the parsonage. Originally, it was myself, Ashley, and Brandy investigating in there. It was fairly quiet until at one point we heard what sounded like someone walking around upstairs. Brandy set up her recorder on the stairs just in case there was something in between. We went upstairs to try and track it down to look for. Unfortunately, we go back and listen to the recording and...
Nothing?
Well, there's noise, but you know what? If it's going to be between paranormal, a ghost, and building shifting and settling and just kind of noises, we have to go with just random noises.
Yep.
Now, this next one, I love this one.
Okay.
I think this is great. Barry and Joe went down to the senior medical area. Barry is using a recorder and headphones so that he can hear possible EVPs in real time. Now, he picked something up that essentially was saying, "Oh, are you already leaving?" Almost toying with them. The other thing they noticed in there was wild temperature fluctuations. I mean, we're talking from 33 to 55 to 47.
Wow.
Just all over the charts. So myself and Barry went back. And then we pick up an EVP towards the beginning as we come back to that area. We'll see what you hear. And give us a sign of your presence here with us tonight.
You can definitely hear the voice. Words are the payback. Okay.
Is it the doctor saying, "Oh, I have some new visitors, I'm finally gonna get some payback"?
Yeah.
Who knows? But the voice is definitely there, and you were able to hear the payback.
Yeah, wait.
What do you think?
Yeah, that's pretty neat, but it makes me a little bit nervous about going down there again.
Moving over now to the separate treatment quarters. The first thing I want to play for you is this is a voice that came out in EVP work with Dustin, Ashley, and Brandy. And Ashley, what she's saying is John Gould, because that was one of the possible spirits. Would you come forward and interact with me? And we actually get the male response who says, okay.
Wow.
Why don't you come out and talk to me? Why don't you come out and talk to me?
That's pretty cool. But did you get anything after that, or he didn't come out and play?
He did.
He did?
I think she may have been a bit surprised. She felt someone poke her in the knee and then started feeling lightheaded, almost like she was losing her energy.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
And I thought that we were going to come here and just say it was this amazing personal experience. But then when we get the recording that something actually did agree to come forward, it's pretty compelling for us.
Yeah, remembering too, that was the place where we've had those reports of physical interaction.
Right.
So, yes.
Now, we also picked up another message. This is myself in the separate treatment quarters. What I was actually asking was, why are you still hanging around here? Why are you still here?
Guys, you're in prison. What are you still doing here? What are you still doing here?
Oh, you got told, didn't you? That was a get out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
What are you still doing here?
That's pretty good. That's a good one. Yeah. Okay.
So this was interesting because it was definitely seemed interactive. So that is the audio that we were able to pick up.
We do have a couple of visual things that we're going to share with you as well. The first thing I want to show you was captured on our DVR camera, which was set up in the Commandant's room. You had told us stories about children going in there and seeing the Commandant sitting on the bed. And there was something that was captured there, so I want to share that with you here. Nobody's in the house at all. All the teams were accounted for elsewhere. I want you to keep an eye on the dressings there.
Okay.
Now, we found that interesting because, like I said, we know no one's there. Rob and I did the thermal sweep there. We go through looking for drafts and such. We open that front door, close that front door. These things never move at all.
We'll play it again for you.
Are we going to come out and say, well, you know, the Commandant is tugging at the bed curtains? No, but it is interesting that throughout the entire investigation, that camera was trained on this area the whole time, and that only moves at one time.
That's the only time it happened?
Only time.
That is unusual. If that's the only instance of that occurring, then I'd be...
One time.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
During the investigation, Barry was traveling with Joe, and they wanted to take some photography of the church. You had told us people had reported seeing an apparition up in the bell tower and such. He was using a 30-second exposure at the time, which came up as odd when we saw this picture here. And we're looking at this little guy right here. It looks like he's, or she, whoever that would be in stride. As you can see, the legs moving as in a walking motion. But with the 30-second exposure, that should be...
Yeah, blurry.
When Barry was taking pictures, he had Joe walk by, and you can see there'll be like a trail.
Yeah.
You can see like a white trail.
Wow.
But then in this one photo, you have someone just captured there. Somebody walking over a 30-second exposure.
Who's the person?
That was our question. Who's the person?
We went through as many explanations as we could come up with. Perhaps the world's slowest walker, and it takes him 30 seconds to take that one step. But I think that what's impressive here is that, you know, as you can kind of zoom in, you see that this is an individual, full-bodied, full shape. So why does this image appear and just stay in that one stride position for 30 seconds? We just we have to throw our hands up at this point.
Yeah, that's a great photo. I've no idea who it would be.
So at this point, with our understanding of what transpired here between the strange experiences coupled with the voices, the EVPs that were captured, we can say that we do indeed agree with many people over the past 100 years that Port Arthur is haunted.
Okay. Thanks so much for all the work that you did, guys. I'm really impressed with what you got. It's been a pleasure having you here, too.
Well, thank you very much. We had a great time.
Great. Thank you. The body of evidence that GHI brought to us is really good. The EVPs that they got were really clear and interactive, which was the thing that surprised me the most. The photo that they actually showed me was amazing. I've never seen anything quite like it.
Well, I'd always wanted to get to Port Arthur. I wasn't disappointed.
No.
Good investigation and even better evidence.
I'll tell you, man, that was a good batch of EVPs. Really good stuff.
And the other evidence, you know, the video, the picture.
Absolutely. I mean, the photo, you know, that guy showing up.
Yeah, definitely strange, and coupled with some huge occurrences, good solid case. Another one in the bag, Port Arthur. Done and dusted, and we're on our way.
That's it, man. Rock and roll.